We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The first 52 words of the United States Constitution present to us 5 basic principles upon which the United States was built. Having spent weeks drafting and revising the preamble of the Constitution, it's no coincidence that 2 of these 5 fundamental ideas include justice and liberty. The question then becomes, what exactly is liberty and justice? While both are subjective and rather abstract concepts, I consider liberty to be the gift of coexisting peacefully with others, with minimal outside intervention, and justice to be the law's willingness to protect this peace of ours. While both forces of liberty and justice work hand in hand, without justice, there is no liberty, and without liberty, there is no justice. Even though the United States has claimed to advocate for liberty and justice for all on paper, our nation is still far from actualizing this pledge. Furthermore, requiring the study of equity, diversity, and inclusion on high school campuses would not alone help ensure liberty and justice for all. In the 17th century, over 2 million English immigrants moved to North America with the hopes of securing what has now become the American dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is a narrative that's taught in grade schools. I could ask any elementary school student from across the nation about how it is that America came to be, and that would be the story they'd tell me. And while it's true that Great Britain's oppression was one of the leading factors that led to the catalyzing of how America came to existence today, there are many details that are either glossed over or left completely out and untaught in schools today. Rarely ever are students educated on the devastating effects that Andrew Jackson's Trail of Tears had on Native Americans. In the United States, our 7th president, Andrew Jackson, is widely regarded as a national hero for having defeated Britain at the Battle of New Orleans. But his cruel Indian removal policy that led to the genocide of thousands of Native Americans and the complete destruction of various cultures and traditions are seldom talked about. And what's more appalling isn't that this information isn't getting out to students, but rather that this information isn't really being talked about in schools, and that the United States has been turning a blind eye towards the glorification of such historical figures. Up in Washington, D.C., we've got monuments, we've got statues of Jefferson, Madison, Washington. These are all people that have prided themselves in the enslavement of innocent American people. Even our national currency seems to celebrate this kind of behavior that's often excused as a norm of the past. But just because racism was normal and expected in the past doesn't mean that it has any place in our society today. From the very beginning, it seems that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness did not apply to everyone. Liberty and justice for all, in my opinion, I think can never be reached until we collectively stop idolizing figures like Andrew Jackson. And this is just one example from hundreds and thousands of years ago. But sexism and racism has ran rampant well into the 20th century, a time where women had yet to secure the right to vote in public elections, and American streets saw the lynching and stripping of Mexican Americans during the 1943 Zoot Suit riots, which are not taught about in schools. The civil rights movement, a struggle for justice and equality before the law, seems to be an ongoing struggle that's still being fought today. And earlier this month, on February 12th, a group of white supremacists attempted a banner drop on a freeway in my county. I know that if I had been driving on that freeway and looked up to read those horrendous 14-word phrase, that 14-word banner drop, the last thing I would have thought of would be liberty and justice for all. With incidents like this happening from the very beginning of the United States creation to present day, how can we proclaim that the United States is living up to its pledge of liberty and justice for all? We can't. Such instances like this, we can't proclaim that the United States is living up to its pledge. Our refusal to acknowledge and address these issues is the #1 reason why it continues to happen. Education on these matters begins during one's youth, not at a high school level. By the time many students have entered high school, many of their beliefs have already been cemented into place, and it's very difficult to unlearn a past mindset. Personally, I find it most valuable to educate our youth early on. And I hope that in the future, I'll have the opportunity to witness the United States as it takes its first few steps towards actualizing its pledge of liberty and justice for all. Thank you.